Welcome to episode 5 of the Chicken Tenders podcast. I'm here with my co-host Zach Lauren and my favorite hockey player of all time, Matt freaking Stajan. Matt, it's an absolute honor to have you on. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. And thanks for the support. You don't hear that too often.
Oh, 100% truth, man. Like the story behind it was like you were a rookie in, well, like you played one game in 02-03. You scored the one goal. And then the year after your actual rookie season, 03-04, my dad took me to a hockey card shop, and I was already like a big fan of you, but you weren't like dead set as my best, like my favorite player yet. But he took me to a hockey card shop and he bought me a Matt Stajan SPX autograph rookie jersey card. And that's like what set it in stone. And yeah, from that day forth, I signed jerseys to pretty much every hockey card you had. And I don't know if this is something that you would remember, but did you get a lot of mail, like fan mail as a Leaf?
Yeah, well, you get it right through your career, but I definitely got more in Toronto. You'd get it. People would send it to the rink, and then they would come. And in Toronto, it would come in waves. Where in Calgary, it was a little bit less. But yeah, I always tried to. Sometimes it took me a while to get around to it, but I always tried to sign and get it back to the people who took the time to send it in. So if you got something back, that's good, because I did try and make an effort in that with the fan mail.
I actually did. I had sent you a letter. I even sent a toonie and everything just to, cover the cost back. And you had sent back like 10 hockey cards. And that was, highlight of my, childhood.
Yeah, no, I would always try and throw on some extra cards if I could. So
that's really cool. What have you been up to since retirement?
Not much. We live in Calgary, and we got two little kids, 6 and 2. So we're busy with them. And I've been doing a little bit of broadcasting for Flames games, more regional coverage out here. So the odd radio hit, coaching my kids' hockey team when we're allowed to play hockey, and I'm keeping busy that way. So it's been obviously with the pandemic, it's been tough for everybody, but I'm finding things to do. And with 2 kids, you're as busy. You're always busy, really. You're always got something going on. So I'm trying to enjoy that, because early on when I was finishing my career, I missed a lot. I was on the road, and I don't want to miss these years, because they're growing fast. But we'll see what's next. I'm enjoying the broadcasting part right now, but we'll see what else I want to deep dive into as we go here. Kind of waiting for things to normalize.
Yeah, things have been weird, that's for sure. That was actually the first question I had for you, was that I've seen you on a bunch of broadcasts recently, and if you were planning on making that like a more active thing.
Yeah, a little bit. It's something, it keeps you involved, and I love the game. It's given me so much, and I enjoy going to the games. It gives me something to do. Enjoy talking about it. I'll always be involved, whether it's just coaching kids or doing that stuff. So I've enjoyed it. I think I get to go into the Saddle Dome and watch NHL games. There's no fans, so it's a different vibe for sure. But I've seen the Leafs play here probably 4 of the 5 games, and I've seen a bunch of other games. So in that sense, it's been nice. But we'll see. It's like anything. I'm trying it out, and we'll see where it takes me, and if it's something I want to stick with, or if there's other opportunities that come along that maybe I want to try.
No doubt. Yeah, that's really cool. I love seeing you there. I was excited every time I've seen you on TV. Tough question, sort of. If the Leafs in Calgary were to play in the first round, who are you cheering for?
Yeah, it is tough. I honestly probably wouldn't care. I'd be happy that one of them is winning around, and they might play, right? It's the way Montreal's sliding right now. Calgary might sneak in. On a personal level, I have a lot of friends on the Flames still, so I'd probably want them to pull through. But at the same time, I don't pick sides. I loved my time with both organizations.
Of course.
We live in Calgary now because we love living here. But I grew up a huge Leaf fan, so I have my eye on both. So we'll see. Hopefully they do play each other because that means Calgary can sneak in here. But you know what? If I'm using my brain and not my heart, I definitely think the Leafs, should be able to win that first round this year, no matter who they play, because they got pretty good team, as good as we've seen in the last 19, 20 years.
Most definitely. I actually think I'd rather see the Leafs play the Habs than Calgary, to be honest. I think Calgary gives them a tougher run.
I agree. I 100% agree. And Calgary's played well against Leafs all year.
They
They're
have.
playing such a simple, boring style right now. That that's what Daryl Sutter's brought in, and they've been successful. They're close games. So it would be, I think, watching Montreal right now play. They don't look. There's something off about that team right now. Maybe they get Carey Price back; it'll help them. But definitely, I think Montreal's a better matchup for Toronto. If you're looking for who's the better matchup, but it'd also be cool to see Montreal, Toronto in a playoff series. I think you can spin it either way you want, but Calgary still needs some help here. We'll see if Montreal keeps sliding the way they are. I think we might see Calgary slide in.
No doubt. Oh, Bennett's been playing like crazy good in Florida since the
Yeah,
trade.
he's been great. I love that kid. It's good. He's fresh out. He needed a fresh opportunity. Just a fresh start, because he had a lot of ups here but a lot of downs, and it was wearing on him, and he was kind of thrusted into a role where he was a checking center and or fourth line center, and he's still a young guy with a lot of talent, but he also brings that grit, and so far so good in Florida. They've thrown him right onto their second line with some pretty skilled guys, which has helped him, and he's playing with confidence. Scored the OT winner last night, so happy for him, and hopefully he continues and has a great career, because he's a guy that will benefit from just a clean slate and a fresh start somewhere.
No doubt. Yeah, he's played very well out there. It's cool to see. Totally back the other way, but do you think the Leafs are a dirty team? I mean, that's like a trending topic right now.
No, that's just some of the stuff I see in the media, or just fans, social media, just ridiculous. No, they're not a dirty team. I don't think I don't think there are any dirty teams. That certain teams have players that rub players and fans the wrong way. But I don't even think Toronto has
ones.
Yeah, exactly. You love to have them on your team, but I wouldn't say. I don't even know who's dirty on Toronto. I wouldn't even pinpoint. They don't have a guy who is like undercover dirty. Like, they have guys who finish their hits, or that will step up now with Simmons there, and Bogosian. They brought in some toughness, and I think they're just trying to play that style, because once you get to the playoffs, it changes. You're not going to just win just on skill. That's never the case in the playoffs. So no would be my answer. I don't think there's any dirty teams in the NHL in today's game. That's an understatement.
That's fair. Hey, Zach, you got a question for Matt?
I do. This is probably a question you've got a lot, Matt, but what was it like playing 1,000 games in the NHL?
It's surreal, to tell you the truth. I look back now and I'm like, I don't even know how that happened. But honestly, you grow up, and I'm sure you guys are the same, playing hockey, road hockey, minor hockey. Your dream's just to play, one game in the NHL, and even just to get to the OHL when I was growing up would have been an accomplishment. I was just so excited to maybe get there one day, and so it just kind of happened. It's cliche-ish. You focus, one day at a time, and that's what you do. And time, it goes by so fast, but you never take anything for granted. I think that's what I'm so proud of, is getting there is one thing, but being able to stay there overcome a lot of adversity, ups and downs in my career in tough markets. And not ever, because someone's always trying to take your job. It's a competitive industry, obviously. Top 700 players in the world are in the NHL. So to be able to have stayed there for as long as I did, I'm very fortunate, happy, and proud, and I'm thankful, really. And you don't do it without your support staff, just the people around you, your teammates, the trainers, and especially the people at home who are the ones, my wife, you come home, she's the one that I vent to, and in tough times, so there's just so many layers to a player, to any person really in life. You have so many layers as to how you go about things, but at the NHL level, it's the same. And I'm just thankful I reached that milestone and got to celebrate it with all the people that were there for me and have been there for me and continue to be there for me.
That's awesome. I got a question off that. Where do you keep the silver stick?
Yeah, right now it's just in the basement, just lying on the bed. I got to get a mantle for it, to put it up. It comes with a little red case that you put it in, just a cloth case to protect it. But okay. Yeah, it's heavy. So it's really heavy. So what they do is they take a game stick and they dip it in silver. So like it's coated. So it's really heavy. So you can't just put it on a couple nails on the wall. You got to get something to hang it up. And I don't take it out often. I probably should. I don't like to, I'm not the type that just kind of, when people walk in my house, look at my silver stick. So yeah. It's just sitting in the basement. But one cool thing with that is they gave my kids one as well. Calgary does a really good job with ceremonies, and they came up with the idea, and they just did it for Lucic, who just reached 1,000 games. They give all your kids a mini stick coated in silver. So there's one they have my sons have sticks that say Daddy's 1,000th game, coated, a little silver stick that they can display in their room. So it's that's my. I never got the Stanley Cup, but at least I have that silver stick, which is, I guess it's very rare. Only 300, I think it's at 350 players ever to reach 1,000 regular season games. So it's something I'm really proud of, and would have, as a kid, if you told me, I would have told you were crazy, but it happened, and I'm very proud of it. And looking back on it now, I'm it's crazy to think.
Fair enough. I mean, 12-year-old me right now would be, sorry for the language, but would be shitting bricks if he knew he's be interviewing Matt Stajan right now.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's crazy you say that, but like I was a diehard Leaf fan. I loved Doug Gilmour. I had a Sundin jersey growing up. I had a Tucker jersey. So like, I was the same. And before he knew it, I was in the dressing room with all three of those guys. My first game, Doug Gilmour was on the team. He was injured, but he came to me right before the game, because he probably had heard that he was my favorite player. He came from just when he got to the game, into the dressing room, and just gave me a little tap and said, "Go do your thing. Congrats." He never played another game after that, but he was in that dressing room, and then I got to play with Tux and Matt Sundin for many years. Brian McCabe, all these guys I grew up idolizing and watching through their runs in the late 90s. All of a sudden I was in that room with them. It's surreal. So it's crazy how it all happens, and I'm happy I can be here with you. And it's nice to hear that I had a loyal fan all these years.
100%. 100%. Geez, I lost my train of thought. Did you have another question there, Zach?
I do. Most of mine are all hockey related, but who would you say was the hardest player you ever played against in your career?
Well, there's so many unbelievable talents. I think I really loved playing as a checking center. I did a lot in Calgary. So I'd be matched up against their team's top line a lot of nights. And even in Toronto, I was playing on the top line. We were playing against the other team's best a lot of nights once Sundin and that group kind of left. So yeah, it's tough to say one guy for to create offense. Playing against Chara was so hard. He's just so big, and especially when he was in his prime. He was deceptive. He looks slow, but he's not, like, because his stride's so long. Obviously now he's slowed down because he's like 50 years old, but he was just so strong. You couldn't hit him off the puck. He had a long stick. So it's hard to create anything. And I think any player, especially in around 2010, 2009, where we played Boston a lot, would say the same. He was a guy that was hard to create against, and he was skilled. Like, his game evolved, and he had a hard shot. He played on the power play, so I'd say him if I had to pick one. But when I'm in a defensive role, I'd say Connor McDavid. My last few years, just he was so fast. Where if you lost positioning, you were in one pretty quickly. But that was later in my career. I'd say, yeah, Crosby always just so smart. There's just, I can go on, but I'd say, yeah, Crosby, McDavid for sure to try and shut down would be two of the toughest, and Char would be, if you're trying to create offense, he's a guy that just you couldn't really do much if he was on his game.
That's awesome. Yeah, Char is still kicking. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Your last professional season, you actually went overseas to play. What was that like? Was John Mitchell being on that team like an influence on you going over there?
Yeah, it was actually. So we made the decision in the summer. I was like, you know what, I could have went on a PTO to a few NHL training camps. I'd reached my 1,000 games. I was, and just talking with my agent, I was just like, okay, what are the options here? And he's like, you know what? And he gave me the numbers. PTOs, guys who make it off PTO, especially when you're 35, is small percentage. And he's like, you've had a great career. Like, I don't want to see on the ticker on TSN that you've been released from a PTO and that's how your career ends. So we kind of made the decision that summer, you know what, my days in the NHL are probably done. You always want to keep playing, and maybe I should have tried. I kind of think maybe I should have gave it a go somewhere, but I saw other guys that were in the same position as me do that. So I think I made the right decision. And so that summer I just started looking overseas, reaching out to people who were connected over there. And I had some offers to go to the KHL, which I did not want to do that just because the travel and everything it would bring. We had a newborn baby, so that was not an option. And then we had a few options in Switzerland. But at the end of the day, we, being friends with John Mitchell, and, talking to him about his experience in Germany, he said they loved it. And the difference was, in Germany, they have the import rule. They have 10 plus imports. So in Switzerland, you only have 3 imports. So you usually only get 1 or 2 North Americans on the team because there's sometimes a guy from Sweden. Where in Germany, there was 10 North Americans on every team. That's what makes the league even stronger than people think. So so I kind of talked to him. I was talking to Doug Shedden a bit too, who is in Ingolstadt, another team in Germany. But Munich just seemed too good to be true with that city and everything that comes with living in Munich, and then knowing Mitchie and and some of the other names on that team. It was a no-brainer. So yeah, that's kind of how that came about. And luckily they had an import spot available for me, because that gets taken pretty quickly over there. It's a lot that goes into the way things work over there, because guys are signing like the year before for the next. It's kind of like soccer where guys get transferred, but they finish the season on a team. It's really weird because so we went there and loved it. Loved our time there. Got to see Munich, and then a big part of Europe, and the atmospheres at the games. Obviously, this is all before COVID. Was unbelievable. It was like, you're in a jam-packed 8,000 seat arena and fans are chanting the whole game. It's like a soccer game on a lesser scale in a small rink, but it's probably louder because you're in a small building. And I loved my time there. I kind of got me to, I didn't really know much about the European scene. I knew a little bit, but it really opened up my eyes as to all the opportunities in the leagues and how everything works over there. So I'm so glad I got to experience all that. And it was a good way to finish. Like yeah, you want to play forever, but at some point you got to look in the mirror and you have a family and what's best. And it all worked out because it would have been tough to be over there when COVID started. So I'm kind of lucky in that sense that it ended the year before all of this pandemic stuff that we're going through.
That's true. Was like, how much different was the play compared to the NHL?
I'd say Germany's the closest style wise, but you're on an Olympic ice surface, so there is a different style in play. It's less stump and chase. But skill wise, like honestly, I would say, and I'm confident saying this, our team in Germany, I'd say the German league, the top 5 teams in the German league would be top teams in the AHL. Like, I think it's a better league all around. Obviously the high end in the AHL, the guys on the cusp of playing in the NHL are a little bit better, but as a whole, I'd say I would rank it, above the AHL as a whole, because you have older professionals that go over there. Guys who don't want to be AHL lifers, they go to Europe and they become lifers in Europe, and it's underrated. I'll tell you that it's very underrated. I was actually surprised, and if I was to rate, we played in the Champions League there, and our team made the final, so we got to play teams in the Swiss league and the Swedish league. So if I was to rank it, they say that it's like, obviously the KHL is the KHL, but they're kind of an outlier. But the other leagues in Europe, I'd say it's Switzerland and Sweden, and then Germany. But they're all pretty close. Like, the top teams in all the leagues are really close. And German hockey's getting even better. And what makes them even better is they have 10 imports. So you have the talent coming in from different countries. They're not just solely based in Germany. Where in Switzerland, you need 17 guys in your roster need to be Swiss. So I'd say it's all pretty close, and people do undervalue that. But I'm here to tell you it's really talented. Lots of options over there.
That's really cool. A little bit off the other side, but throughout the years, who would you say is like one of the best friends you've made in the NHL? Like, someone you still call and text on a regular basis?
Oh, there's a lot. I grew up with Koliakovo, so I've always kept in. Yeah, I've always kept in touch with him, but I knew him my childhood years. But I'd say, right now, like, I'm close with Brian McGrattan. He lives in Calgary, and keep in touch with Lee Stempniak. Ironically, who Koliakovo got traded for. He was in Calgary for a while with me, and Toronto. But I keep in touch with quite a few guys. Like, I still talk to Brian McCabe, Darcy Tucker. Like, you keep in touch with everyone, but it's definitely it's like anything. You get traded, you think you're gonna be close and talk all the time with the guys you just played with, but no, you're in a new dressing room, and all of a sudden you're around 20 other new teammates, friends that become friends. They're like brothers to you for 8 years here in Calgary. So now I'm close with them. So if I was to pick one, it would be Mark Giordano would probably be the guy I came really close with, because we were here in Calgary for 8 years, and we're good family friends. Our kids are friends, and we see each other all the time. So he'd be the guy. But I kind of knew him growing up too, playing against him in the GTHL. That's funny how all that works.
No doubt.
Camilleri. Well, Camilleri is another guy where we still talk quite a bit. So there's a lot I can go on. You mentioned a name, I'm like, yeah, I talked to him. So it's crazy.
I thought it was cool, the interaction that you had with like Jason Spezza when you were on the broadcast the one night. It just seemed, personal, more than just like a broadcaster talking to a player, right?
Yeah, well, he's another guy I played minor hockey with, and then we played a little bit. He got traded to Belleville, where I played junior, so I got to play like half a season or before he went to the NHL with him. And you keep in touch. He's not a guy I text and stuff all the time, but when we see each other, it's like no time has passed. And him and Brian McGrattan are close. So yeah, you just kind of, they're these lifelong friendships, and you have this bond that's unbreakable, because you're you've lived the same type of lifestyle, and you know what, the tough times and good times that you get to have as a hockey player. So it's just kind of a bond you have. And yeah, he's a guy that for sure it's great. I'm so happy that he's still going and he's adapted his role, and he's having a great year. So it's great to see, and it was fun doing that. I was a little weary of doing it. I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And they kind of forced me into it. So I hope people liked it. I was a little bit nervous.
Yeah, no, it was good. It's like a fun fact, I guess, for this year is that Spezza making 700,000 a year is actually has more points than Josh Anderson in Montreal.
He probably has a lot more points than a lot of people. He's having a great year and limited ice time, and he's he just loves the game. So he's I think, yeah, he would probably play a few more years, and Toronto's lucky to have him.
Most definitely. Zach, you got a question?
I do. As you can see by this Ovechkin jersey, you can probably tell I'm a Caps fan. The question out there with Ovi right now is, can he catch Wayne Gretzky's goal record? Do you personally think he can catch Wayne Gretzky's goal record?
Yeah, I think he will. Yeah, he just scores goals, and he's another guy I should have said it hard to play against. Like, him and Backstrom, like, all these years. I know they don't always play together anymore, but they're so hard. They're so smart, and I think he will catch it, because I think he'll play for another as long as he can, and I think Washington will let him, because he's turned that franchise around. He's brought them a Stanley Cup. He's done everything. So that'll be exciting to watch. I know you as a Caps fan will like to hear that. And he's still one of the best goal scorers in the game. He is. If you could say Matthews is maybe a little bit better now, but it's crazy to watch. So yeah, he's a guy that was a lot of fun and challenging to play against. My days with him went all the way back to, we played against him in the World Juniors in Halifax when he was like 17. We're in the full cage in Halifax. So he gave me a lot of nightmares over the years, but good for him. He seemed to always score against the Leafs. So it's one thing I remember. 5 minutes into the game, he'd always seem to have a goal, off the rush, just top shelf. His release.
Oh, incredible!
You mentioned Nick Backstrom too. Me being a Caps fan, I find he's very underrated. Do you think he's very underrated? Because with Ovi there, he doesn't get a lot of spotlight.
Well, he's underrated for sure in the public eye and fans, and because Ovechkin's there. But the sentiment with players in the league, he's not underrated, because when you go into Washington and you're a player on their team, you know exactly what he is, and you got to watch out for him. And you could say that about a lot of guys. Obviously, the shining star, the superstar that everybody talks about, gets the limelight publicly in the media. But, when you're a player in the league, you know exactly what each guy brings, with scouting reports. And, we don't gloat about how good other players are, but you're very aware. And he's definitely a guy that, has a lot of respect. And, he's just a phenomenal player that's does everything. So he's just as important to that franchise as Ovi, but obviously Ovi's going to get, majority of the honor and, people in the public eye, especially with what he does. But for sure, he's just right there with them.
No doubt. If you had to pick one person, whether it's a coach or a player or anybody from your NHL career, who would you say that you learned the most from?
Oh, yeah, that's tough, because it's tough to pick one person, because you take like, I came into the league as a young guy, and I remember just watching. I roomed with Joe Nieuwendyk. I'd look up to Matt Sundin, talk to him, and so you take little snippets from everybody around you, especially the people you respect. So it's really hard for me to pinpoint one person, because there's so many, but I will say that just watching guys and the way they handled themselves early in my career. So Gary Roberts, Matt Sundin, Brian McCabe, Joe Nieuwendyk, all these guys, Darcy Tucker, just they all brought different elements that I respected so much, whether it was the fire, whether it was the way they took care of themselves off the ice, whether it was just what they did to make themselves better. So you take a little bit from everybody, and even your coaches. Like looking back now, like, did I get along with all my coaches? No, but I really understand now, especially, when you're 23, 24, maybe you don't understand as much why they're doing certain things, why they're pushing your buttons, why they're hard on you. Because at the end of the day, they're trying to get the most out of you. They're trying to maximize what you bring to the team. And there's different philosophies, and you don't like some ways, and some ways work for you and some ways don't. But I respect it all. So, and another guy was Berkey. Brian Burke was always very influential to me, and he traded me, so there's a reason for me not to say him. But he came to Calgary and signed me an extension after he was here, and I just grew to know Berkey and just what he, his whole thought process, not just the hockey, just everything around the game. He really understands the human side, and I think he's been a really nice addition for Pittsburgh, and glad I got to spend a lot of my career with him as part of the organizations.
No doubt. I was really sad when you got traded. It was probably my saddest hockey moment of all time, for sure.
Yeah, I was shocked too, to tell you the truth. I wasn't expecting it, to tell you the truth, but that's how it goes.
Zach, you got another question?
Did you always want to play hockey when you were growing up, or is there something else you wanted to do before hockey, or even maybe when you were like 9, 10?
No, hockey was it. I loved sports. So I played soccer and lacrosse and baseball. Like, I loved all kinds of sports for sure. So, I wanted to be an athlete, but hockey was always my number one. I lived and breathed hockey. I went to hockey schools. I put in my time. It didn't just happen. I was fortunate. My parents really gave me the opportunity to get better and pushed me when I needed pushing, and were there for me when I needed them in different ways. And it happened fast. But you have to believe. You got to believe in yourself, because there are a ton of doubters right through. But I wanted nothing else but to be a hockey player my whole life.
No doubt. You got another one there, Zach?
Yeah, I've seen like people talk about certain arenas aren't enjoyable to go play in. Which arena did you like playing in the least as a visiting team?
I loved playing in Toronto as a home team and visiting team. But the arena I hated the most was, as a Calgary Flame, I hated playing in Anaheim. Like, I think I won one game in 8.5 seasons, which included 2 playoff series in that building. So I just hated it there. I think we set a record for most consecutive losses in an arena. So that arena is my kryptonite for sure, and just hated playing there. They had good teams, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I'd say Anaheim. As a Leaf, what arena did I not enjoy? I don't know. What, Leafs have such a good following everywhere. You go to Florida, it's packed with Leaf fans. You go to, LA, everywhere. There's Leaf fans everywhere. So, yeah, I liked every rink. Different experience in every rink. So, yeah, I loved the Saddle Dome too, as a home and as a visitor. It's just a cool, energy to that arena. I know it's old now, but it brings a different vibe than all the new rinks bring. So I'll say those bunch of rinks I just mentioned.
Right on. What's your most memorable moment as a hockey player?
For sure, scoring the series clinching goal in Game 6 against Vancouver in 2015. It was a Saturday night. We were underdogs in the series against Vancouver, up 3-2, and yeah, I scored with 4 minutes left in the third period. We came back we were down 3-0 in that game. It was a 8:30 start in Calgary on a Saturday, so the fans were roaring, partying all day on 17th Ave here, the Red Mile, and so you drive through that to get to the rink, and then to be able to score the winning goal with 4 minutes left after coming down from 3-0 was that feeling and moment tops it off without a doubt. I don't think scoring any goal in the NHL is an unbelievable feeling, but that's on another level there, and that's definitely the moment.
Oh, I can just imagine. I noticed you've been doing, like, the reason why I reached out to you specifically was obviously because you were my favorite player growing up, but I noticed you were doing like lower leveled podcasts, I guess you could say. Is there a reason for that? Like just like giving back or
Yeah, honestly, just yeah, people reach out. I'm not the type of guy that's going to just brush people off. I want to give everybody the time of day. We're all people trying to have success in what we do, and if I could share my story and help anybody out, yeah, I try and get back to everybody. I don't think just because someone has 100,000 followers doesn't mean I'm gonna just go on their podcast. It's not what it's about to me. So you just try and give back to to hockey fans and people who support the game. Hockey's done a lot for me, and fans are a big part of that. So that's honestly it. I try and get back to everybody who messages me, and it's not always I can do it right away, but over time I try and hit everybody and check all the boxes when people reach out.
that's really cool. Oh, I was ecstatic when you got back to me. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was almost in tears. I was with Zach on the phone and I was like, yo, Matt just got back to me. Like, this is crazy. I ran downstairs to my wife and I was like, literally Matt Stajan just got back to me. And she's like, no way. And yeah, here we are. That's pretty cool.
No, it's least I could. I enjoy talking hockey, so hey, I never lost sight of that part of the game. That's for sure. Because I was one of those kids growing up that would go for autographs. If I saw an AHL player, I'd be in awe. That was at a rink in Toronto. So I never lost sight of that. Whether it's signing autographs or even now, just people making requests. You try and always remember where you came from.
That's really cool. We appreciate it. I'm sure everybody else does too. Zach, do you have another question?
Yeah, as a former goalie, I've always kind of wondered who players consider the hardest goalie to score on, not necessarily the best goalie, but the hardest to score on in any sort of situation. Who would you say was the hardest goalie you had to score on or face in your career?
Yeah, for me, every player would be different, but for me, I seem to have like good goal, like Hall of Fame goalies like Brodie, and I seem to have his number. I always scored on Brodie, but I always had a hard time scoring against Miller, who just retired or is retiring, Ryan Miller. When I was in Toronto, I think I scored a few goals. It's not like I didn't, because we played Buffalo so often, but he was always, but then ironically, when he was in Vancouver, he was the goalie I scored on in game 6 there, that the goal I just talked about. So, it's just kind of different seasons go differently. There's some rinks I couldn't seem to score in Chicago for whatever reason. I just never, I don't think I ever scored a goal in that rink. I got a bunch of assists, but just over the years. Marc-Andre Fleury always had my number too. He's another guy, and he's still kicking, and I'm probably going to be up for the Vezina this year, which is another incredible season for him. So yeah, I'd say he's probably, those names are probably some of, but different times, you just never want to think about that, because then you get in your own head. If I'm sitting there before a game, I'm like, man, I never score on this guy, then chances are I'm not going to score on him. So I now that I'm done, I don't mind saying names, but when you're playing, it's not something I was talking about too much to people.
That's fair. Zach, do you got any more?
Who would you say is the best player you played with in Toronto and Calgary, since you played with a lot of really good hockey players?
Oh yeah, it's hard to, in Toronto, Matt Sundin, I know it was later stage of his career, but my first few years, he did it all. He's just such a horse. He played every situation. He was big, strong. Especially my first year with the older rules, just watching him plow through people. Good speed too. Like, he was fast. The people don't realize how fast he was for a big man. Obviously he doesn't look as fast because he's bigger, but he was fast and skilled. So I'd say Matt's would be Toronto. Phil Kessel was just a natural skilled guy. So playing on his line, guy on my line would probably be Phil, because he was so good. I don't know, it was only half a season, but that was a lot of fun. And then Jerome McGinley he was power forward, but also so skilled. So those are the names that really come up. I know they're easy answers, but there's reasons all these guys, have over 1,000 points, or will have over 1,000 points, at the NHL level. It's because when you're in a dressing room with them, you're like in awe, and then you get to see it every day at practice. It's crazy. I will say though, McGillney was probably the natural talent. McGillney, just watching him in practice, he was just so good. Johnny Gaudreau is really skilled when you want like just skill. So there's some names. I could probably name a whole bunch of other guys, but different stages of their career, right? There's a lot of Hall of Fame. The first year in Toronto, I played with a lot of Hall of Famers. If you look at that roster, there's a ton of guys. So I could probably name all those guys too, but different stages in their careers for sure.
That's cool. You don't have to answer this one, but if you were building a team in their prime, are you taking a Ginla or Sundin?
Oh. I would take that's tough, but honestly I would take Sundin just because he's a centerman. That's the only reason. I think solid. I'm a big believer, if you have two guys that are that dominant, pretty equal really, I take the centerman just based because he's a centerman. That's the only reason. But I'll take either of them if I'm building a team with them in their prime.
Oh yeah. Most definitely. You got another one, Zach?
Who would you say is your favorite player to watch currently in the NHL?
Oh, easily Connor McDavid. As much as we're supposed to hate Edmonton Oilers here in Calgary, it's just, I put it on. He's just so entertaining. I think he's a guy that you watch the game just to watch a player, and you don't get that very often, right? So nowadays he's the guy. I enjoy watching the Leafs because their offense and their Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, they're very dynamic. But this year it's been all Canada, right? It's all the Canadian division. So the two most entertaining teams to me though are Toronto and then Edmonton. Edmonton, just for the fact they have McDavid and Draisaitl. It's they're a good team, but those two guys are top 5 talents in the league. So it's as a player, I really respect what they're doing, at that level individually.
Are you taking Edmonton over Winnipeg in round 1?
Yeah, if I had to pick, I would, especially with the way Winnipeg's kind of struggling right now. And Mike Smith he's a gamer in the playoffs. So I think if he plays like he's been playing, for sure, although Hellebuyck can be the same, I just take you just take those guys, Draisaitl, McDavid, to be the X factors in the way they've had success this year. But who knows? We saw what happened last year in the playoffs when Chicago went in and beat Edmonton. But if I had to pick one, I'd say I think Edmonton and Toronto is going to be the second round matchup in the North Division if I was to pick right now.
I really hope they get past the first round.
I think so. Yeah,
I think so too. It's just, as a Leafs fan, like I love them so much, but I still have my doubts. I'm all in, but I'm not at the same time.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think if they get the goaltending, they will.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Stanley Cup, but I think first round.
Ooh.
And then you never know. You get on a roll, you win a round, you get on a roll. Anything can happen. That's how it works. You always have teams that have to get on a roll at the right time.
Another kind of tough question. If you're the Leafs coaching staff, are you starting Campbell or Anderson?
Well, the playoffs start tomorrow. You start Campbell. But if you get Anderson in here at the end of the season for a few games, and I think you have him ready. I think for them to, if they want to win, I think you're going to need Anderson to eventually be the guy. But I think you go Campbell right now. And Riddick can be good too. He's a confidence guy though. When he's good, he's lights out. But when he's not, you get the other side. So I just think Freddie Anderson, to me, I think is just a good goalie. He always has been. He was in Anaheim for a bunch of years, and I always thought he was a really good goalie, and even in Toronto, he's been really good. So, I know there's been some sort of times this year when he struggled and he's injured, but yeah, he's a good goalie, and I don't think I think just finding a guy to roll with is the key. And what can you say about Campbell? He's been incredible this year. So I think you have a lot of options. I guess one doesn't work out, you almost go like if you win, you're in, and otherwise we go to the next guy. I think that's because I don't think the Leafs are going to be losing games. If they lose a game, I think their goal is going to have to be really off, especially early. That's my thing, because I think they're going to put up. I think they're going to be able to score. That's one thing about this team. They'll score goals.
Yeah. Oh, their defense is looking pretty good this year too. That's been such a relief for sure.
Yeah. I knew
Brodie's
that
looked incredible.
Yeah. TJ Brodie, he's a guy, when we talk about underrated, like we knew in Calgary how good he was, especially players on the team. Even the media here, by the end, they were all over Broads, but as a player, he was so good. Just the little things he does, and he's not flashy, and he doesn't care to be flashy. He lets whoever he's playing with, do their thing, and it makes them better, which is what you're seeing in Toronto. So I knew that would be a great fit for the Leafs, especially the style of play they play, because he can skate, he moves the puck, he's good positionally. So he's good defensively. Like, he's not going to throw open ice hits and be flashy that way, but he's always in position. Has a good stick, so that's what you want from a guy. I think he's been probably their best addition, really. When you look at who they added in the offseason, I'd say Broads is probably the guy, even though people don't talk about him as much as they should.
I agree, big time. I think he's been our best defenseman this year, like as just like being defensively sound and positionally and everything. And this is coming from the guy that named his daughter Riley after Morgan Riley. So
yeah, he's good too. They complement each other, right? You can't just have two guys that do the same thing. So it's a nice fit.
Yeah, it's nice to see Sandin come in and have Ben Hutton there as well. It seems like we finally got some depth on defense, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they just got to get on a roll. I think this is the year they're gonna do a little bit. We'll see it. I just don't know what happens if they get through the Canadian division. What happens, in the semifinals? But obviously, you get to the semifinals, it's exciting though. So,
oh yeah,
but then you kind of go from there. But like, how are they going to match up against Colorado or Vegas? Luckily, one of those two teams are going to be out because they're going to have to meet each other. So, yeah, you never know. I think it's right there for them for sure. You don't have to play Boston, that's for sure. That's a good thing.
You think Toronto's throwing a parade even through COVID season if the Leafs win a cup? I don't think the fans are going to care.
Yeah, hopefully we're past all this, or somewhat. But yeah, I think if the Leafs win, people are going to go nuts, and it won't be good for COVID. That's for sure.
Most definitely. Zach, you got any more?
I have one more little one really quickly. Who's your cup pick right now?
Oh, my cup pick is Colorado. However, it worries me that they have to play Vegas. Like, those are my two picks, Vegas and Colorado. I know I can just pick one. I think whoever comes out of that division between those two teams is going to win. So, and I think Colorado is going to beat them, but you never know. Colorado seems to always get an injured goalie in the playoffs or something. So yeah. Vegas might go through, and but hey, it's hard to tell because it's not like I've sat down and watched games full on to see. I see highlights. The Canadian teams, I know all of them because we've been watching them, but there's like Carolina's unbelievable too. Florida looks like they're going to be tough to beat. You got Tampa, so that division's going to have an unbelievable team coming out of there. And then I think Pittsburgh, Washington, that division. Who's going to come out of there? I don't even. It's going to be four good teams, so I don't really know, and you don't know how the divisions match up against her. That's what's unique about this year, where in years past you would never see that.
Yeah, they have no idea what to expect coming into playing whatever team they meet up with. They haven't seen it.
Exactly. But
Oh.
hey, gives everybody a chance. I think once you're in the playoffs, it's honestly goalie gets hot. You start feeling good as a team. I think yeah, it could happen. Toronto's this is as good a chance that they've had in a long time. So lots to be excited about.
Most definitely. I don't have any more questions. I think we're gonna wrap this up. I think we're at 45 minutes there. Big thank you for coming on, Matt. Like, absolute honor to talk to you, to have you on here. You're our first major guest. Incredible.
Well, thanks for having me. No, it's my pleasure for sure.
Thank you very much. And yeah, oh man, I'm like fangirling right now. I've been fangirling. I was so nervous the last hour before we sent you the link. It was just, yeah, I didn't know how I was gonna react. So this went really good. I'm very happy to have you on.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me. Enjoy the playoffs. It'll be interesting who the Leafs play here. I don't know. Montreal does not look like a team that wants to be in the playoffs right now. So we'll see if they slide out of it. But we'll see. Enjoy the ride.